Welcome to the Daily Globe. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. Tonight, a story of steel, strategy and sovereignty unfolds across the world's longest undefended border. The Detroit River now hosts a $4.8 billion mega bridge, a symbol of Canada's bold response to rising American protectionism. Ottawa is investing billions to forge new trade routes and alliances, deliberately reducing reliance on its southern neighbor. This bridge is more than infrastructure. It's a statement of economic independence in the face of President Trump's America First agenda. As the U.S. turns inward, Canada and Mexico are building a new economic corridor. Rail lines and infrastructure designed to withstand tariff storms and political uncertainty. The implications stretch far beyond the Great Lakes, reshaping alliances that have defined North American trade for generations. Canada's gamble, led by Prime Minister Mark Carney, is to diversify away from historic U.S. dependence. The recent threat of a 50% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminum was a wake-up call, forcing Canada to act decisively. This special report explores the history, strategy and stakes behind the Gordie Howe International Bridge and the continent's shifting alliances. More than economics, this is about a nation building its own future, one steel beam at a time. Canada's $4.8 billion bridge is a direct response to the economic uncertainty of Trump's second term. The once stable US-Canada trade relationship has become unpredictable, with dramatic policy swings. In March 2025, the Trump administration threatened a 50% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminum, retaliating against Ontario's electricity surcharge on US states. Markets tumbled, and Canadian industries faced existential risk. Frantic negotiations led Ontario to rescind the surcharge, and the White House dropped the tariff hike, but the standard 25% tariff remained. The crisis exposed the fragility of Canada's reliance on US trade and the corrosive effect of constant policy whiplash. Businesses on both sides now struggle to plan for the future, as tariffs shift from revenue tools to political weapons. For Prime Minister Carney, the March crisis was a sobering lesson. Campaign rhetoric is no match for the realities of governing beside an unpredictable superpower. Canada's pivot from protest to pragmatic action is embodied in its new infrastructure and alliances. The message is clear: Canada can no longer depend on predictable trade with its largest partner. Canada's answer to volatility is rising in steel and concrete over the Detroit River. The Gordie Howe International Bridge is a $4.8 billion public-private partnership set to become a vital trade artery between Windsor and Detroit. More than a crossing, it's a declaration of Canada's intent to control its economic destiny. Built and financed primarily by Canada, the bridge ensures public control over a critical trade link, insulating it from private or US leverage. Its advanced customs plazas and inspection technology promise faster, more secure trade flows. The bridge is designed to increase capacity, reduce delays, and lower business costs. It's a long-term strategic asset, built for resilience in an unpredictable world. Canadian goods will have a reliable path to market, regardless of political climate. This is a bold investment in securing Canada's trade future. Canada's strategy for resilience extends beyond its borders. In September 2025, Prime Minister Carney and Mexican President Sheinbaum announced a formal strategic alliance in Mexico City. Their goal: coordinate responses to US tariffs and reduce dependence on the American market. The alliance is more than symbolic. It includes harmonized trade policies, joint supply chain initiatives, and a united front in USMCA negotiations. For decades, Canada and Mexico negotiated separately with the US. Now they form a powerful bloc. The partnership aims to create a more integrated Canada-Mexico economic space, counterbalancing US dominance. Both nations, scarred by tariff chaos, seek stability and predictability for their industries. Combined with infrastructure like the Gordie Howe Bridge, this alliance redraws North America's economic map. It's a proactive move to ensure prosperity isn't dictated by Washington alone. The numbers reveal the stakes of this new economic landscape. US tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum cost exporters over $1.5 billion annually, squeezing profits and raising costs for both countries. Rising tolls on key border crossings add to the burden, prompting Canada to seek more efficient trade routes. The Windsor-Detroit corridor alone handles over $100 billion in annual trade. Any disruption has immediate consequences. The Gordie Howe Bridge is designed to handle a 25% increase in commercial traffic over 30 years, securing this vital lifeline. Canada's investment is a calculated response to mounting financial and logistical penalties. By building a faster, publicly controlled crossing, Ottawa aims to offset rising costs and future-proof its trade. In a volatile environment, infrastructure is Canada's answer to economic pressure. The Gordie Howe Bridge is just one part of Canada's broader trade strategy. The merger of Canadian Pacific and Kansas City Southern Railways created CPKC, the first single-line railway linking Canada, the US, and Mexico. This network allows goods to move seamlessly from Vancouver to Veracruz, bypassing congested US hubs. For Canadian and Mexican businesses, it's a game-changer, direct, efficient, and less vulnerable to US border friction. The CPKC rail spine turns the Canada-Mexico alliance into commercial reality, strengthening bilateral supply chains. Goods can now travel from Mexican ports to Canada without US delays or tariffs. Together, the new bridge and rail line reroute North American commerce, giving Canada and Mexico more leverage and control. It's a sophisticated strategy for a new era of trade. To understand this shift, we turn to those shaping policy and analyzing its impact. A senior advisor to Prime Minister Carney says, "We can't let our economy be hostage to another country's politics. The Bridge and Mexico alliance are about stability, not antagonism." Trade economist Dr. Amelia Thorne notes, "Campaigning against Trump's policies is easy. Governing is harder. The alliance with Mexico is a smart hedge, not a replacement for the US relationship." Business leaders welcome the new infrastructure. Every minute saved at the border is money saved. The Gordie Howe Bridge promises efficiency and predictability. However, critics warn that bypassing the US could provoke further retaliation and risk isolating Canada from its largest market. A conservative think tank fellow cautions, "Our economy is tied to the US. Building parallel structures could signal a permanent rift. We need negotiation, not escalation." The debate highlights the delicate balance Canada must strike, building resilience without burning bridges. The consensus: Canada's moves are bold, but the risks are real. The future will depend on how these strategies play out in practice. For now, Canada is betting on control, efficiency, and new alliances. Washington's response to Canada's moves is mixed and unpredictable. Officially, the Gordie Howe Bridge is seen as a needed upgrade, with the US contributing to its customs plaza. Privately, US officials are wary of the Canada-Mexico alliance, viewing it as a challenge to America First trade tactics. The Trump administration remains focused on renegotiating the USMCA, but a united Canada-Mexico front complicates talks. Internal divisions in Washington lead to erratic policy. Threats one day, negotiations the next, leaving allies in limbo. For now, the US is watching as Canada and Mexico build new trade routes and leverage. The era of US dominance is being tested as its neighbors chart their own course. The North American partnership is changing, and the US is no longer the only center of gravity. This is a story of resilience and reinvention. The Gordie Howe Bridge, the Canada-Mexico alliance, and new rail links are building blocks of a new Canadian economic doctrine. Canada is no longer waiting for the storm to pass. It's building a stronger shelter. The traditional US-centered trade model is giving way to a more complex multi-corridor system. Canada's shift is from dependence to interdependence, creating new leverage for decades to come. The risks are real, but the risk of inaction is greater. The future of North American trade will be defined by adaptability and resilience. Canada is making a clear statement. It intends to control its own destiny. The world is watching to see if this path leads to greater prosperity and stability. What do you think? Is this a smart move for Canada or a risky provocation? Join the conversation and share your thoughts.